Yeah, here we go. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Hope you are doing well. We are on week 4 of the road to January 6th. What we've done, I guess I could introduce myself. My name's Kevin, go by F-Bombs, which is facts based on my brain. Little dig at Kellyanne Conway and the Republicans for their alternative facts. Hey, Couchman, how's it going? We're on week 4. We are the last week of November. We're going to do a little review to catch us up to where we are, going through the trailers, and then we can get started on what was going on with this last week in the coup plot. We're going to see, just to set up a little bit, you're going to see Rudy and his team were openly explaining they were going to steal the election. Yes, correct. This is the last week of election month. We're going week by week, every week from the election to January 6th, so that we can track back in real time what was going on. And you'll be surprised this week how much of the plot was exposed, even in November. How in the open they were telling us that they were going to steal the election. The problem is, they were so buffoons about it, just like for the 4 years while Trump was in office. Everybody just laughed off all of the crime because they were doing it next to a porn shop and his face was leaking. So while everybody was laughing and joking it off, they were literally trying to do a coup that they almost got away with. So here's a quick intro of what we did on week 1.
And all of a sudden, it's not like we're up 12 votes and we have 60% left. We won states, and all of a sudden, I said, what happened to the election? It's off. And we have all these announcers saying, what happened? And then they said, oh, because you know what happened? They knew they couldn't win. So they said, let's go to court. And did I predict this, Newt? Did I say this? I've been saying this from the day I heard they were going to send out tens of millions of ballots. I said exactly, because either they were going to win, or if they didn't win, they'll take us to court. This is a major fraud in our nation. We want the law to be used in a proper manner. So we'll be going to the U.S. Supreme
They're going to cheat, and you know that by going to court. Oh, we're going to go to court.
To stop. We don't want them to find any ballots at 4 o'clock in the morning and add them to the list, okay?
I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have.
This is a fraud on the American public.
True, from you.
This is an embarrassment to our country.
True, by you.
We were getting ready to win this election. Frankly, we did win this election.
Well, I don't think we've ever seen anything like this from a president of the United States, and I think
that's a big through line right there. The fact that over and over and over again, everything that happened was something we had never seen before, and nobody panicked.
as Jake said, it's sad and it is truly pathetic, and of course it is dangerous, and of course it will go to courts, but you'll notice the president did not have any evidence.
Special report. Can now project that former Vice President Joe Biden will win Pennsylvania and Nevada, putting him over the 270 electoral votes he needs to become the 46th president of the United States.
Who was it called by? Oh my goodness, all the networks. Wow. All the networks.
All right, week 2.
As I mentioned, we are not prepared to give that number now.
The Biden crime family steal the election! The media...
In 2016, he said he wasn't going to accept the results. Then he didn't accept it. He actually lost by 3 million. Then he told us he wasn't going to accept the results. Then he didn't accept the results and showed us he wasn't going to accept the results. And everybody was like, Yeah, well, I guess we were upset that Russia interfered in the Trump campaign, who has pardoned everybody that has interfered. I guess we did report too much on that, so we better not report on this. Better that we talk about not being able to give water bottles to people in line.
Covering up! The Biden crime family stealing this election! The media's covering up!
Wait, where?
This is globalist overthrowing our government. We better have the military stop the globalist.
Well, have them at least do this. Have them go and secure the data and secure the facilities and suppress the deep state who are inside.
No,
the
you're right.
military.
They're so scared this former special operations.
In case you don't know who that is, that's Stuart Rhodes, founder of the Oath Keepers, indicted on seditious conspiracy for attacking America. This is a November 10th interview with Alex Jones.
Commander has been hired for just this mission. I think they're listening to you, Stuart. I think this is happening.
Be a smooth transition to a second Trump.
Yeah, head of the State Department just says we're not going to accept the election. No big deal.
Right, we're ready.
So, but I'm glad to see it happening, and we're there to support it. So what we're doing is we have men already stationed outside D.C. as a nuclear option in case they attempt to remove the president illegally. We will step in and stop it.
The president has seen a mountain of evidence that there was fraud committed in over 10 different states now. 3 or 4 of them, it's substantial. It takes a little while to gather it, but we're about to file suit in Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania, for the entire state.
President Trump fired his defense secretary today. No lame duck president has ever done such a thing.
That's never been done. He was replacing top DOJ and justice officials.
Barr's action will allow attorneys to work around Justice Department policy that would normally prohibit investigations before the election has been certified.
Yep, add that one to the list.
This is documented on videotape. There are upwards of 50 witnesses, and this will be the subject of a lawsuit that we file tomorrow for violating civil rights.
I believe that they tried to steal the election.
Stop the Steal may appear as a grassroots uprising, but it started more than 4 years ago. The brainchild of a political dirty trick artist and convicted liar who's pushed disinformation schemes for years. Roger Stone.
Stop the Steal is posting much of this material.
This is the end of the November 14th, the week that ended in November 14th. This was at the first major test run in D.C. They had already on the 7th in all 50 states had organized by November 7th, had organized protests in all 50 state capitals, many of them armed protesters. So by the day the election was called, they were already protesting in all 50 states the election. There's no way that was grassroots. It wasn't like after George Floyd died where shit erupted everywhere. This was astroturfed and planned before the election.
Get him!
Trump says Antifa scum ran for the hills today. Antifa scum ran for the hills today when they tried attacking the people at the Trump rally because those people aggressively fought back. Antifa waited until tonight when 99% were gone to attack innocent MAGA people. DC police, get going. Do your job and don't hold back. That was the 14th of November where Trump was advocating for violence. All right, week 3.
Good afternoon. And thank you very much for coming.
I have to say, I kept him punching the microphone in because I thought it was funny.
Good afternoon. And thank you very much for coming. This is representative of our legal team. We're representing President Trump, and we're representing the Trump campaign.
And this is a disgraceful thing that was done in this country. Probably not much more disgraceful than the things these people did in office, which you didn't and don't bother to cover, and you conceal from the American people.
Everyone must go to the capital of Georgia now, and you must surround the governor's mansion now. I'm coming. I'll be there.
So the same guy that had Stuart Rhodes on like 10 days earlier than this episode said he had people, armed people stationed outside of D.C. Now the same guy who's also been traveling around to the militia protest and stoking everything while also working with Roger Stone, this guy talks directly to the president.
And I'm bringing Roger Stone, and I'm bringing a bunch of other people. That's what I'm doing behind the scenes. And I'm calling the damn White House, and I'm telling Trump he needs to go.
Connecting Trump to the militia.
And get on a frickin' airplane and land at the capital of Georgia and go into the governor's mansion.
Now, if you go back and you watch week 3, you see that Alex Jones, Nick Fuentes, and Ali Alexander are all together in the Georgia Capitol. You know, you'll find out the role that Ali Alexander plays, and we already know the influence that Fuentes has. So you've got we've already exposed all of the militia is already starting to work together. On November 14th, Tario's like, hey, this is going to work. We can do this. Alexander's like, hey, these people, we can all work together. We don't care if they're white supremacists.
We want every legal vote to be counted, and we want every illegal vote to be...
I just think we have to be very clear. She's charging, the other side is welcoming fraud and welcoming illegal voting. Unless she has more details to back that up, I can't in good countenance continue showing you this. I want to make sure that maybe they do have something to back that up, but that's an explosive charge to make.
President Trump's hopes of overturning vote totals in this election suffered a major setback in the state of Georgia. After a 6-day recount by hand, a statewide audit has confirmed President Trump lost narrowly to President-elect Joe Biden.
It wasn't true. It was thousands and thousands of ballots. And the ballots were in garbage cans. They were in paper bags. They were in cardboard boxes. And they were taken into the center.
When did they put a stop on it? Election fraud? You mean like when they started to get in trouble? They still say there was fraud. You're going to see this week like how they set the floor. They set the floor at the fact that your vote was stolen. The floor that they set in this week's episode is that your vote was stolen. We just don't know how many of your votes were stolen. But you, the viewer, your vote was stolen.
A number of tables.
That's their baseline.
At that time, they thought all the Republican inspectors had left. All but 2 had. And an employee of Dominion.
What we are really dealing with here and uncovering.
So Rudy just told you that this was like individual people causing like these crimes. Like a van pulls up with votes and they didn't think the Republicans were still there, but we caught them. So it was individual people. And now what's Powell going to say?
More by the day is the massive influence of communist money through Venezuela.
So at the same time, it was the individual people. It was Venezuela, China, Germany.
And likely China in the interference with our elections here in the United States.
Calling it sedition. Sedition? Ladies and gentlemen, this is serious.
It is.
Sedition is punishable by decades in prison, possibly
Let's
death.
go.
It's been organized and conducted with the help of Silicon Valley people, the big tech companies, the social media companies, and even the media companies. And I'm going to release the Kraken.
She's on Kraken.
New tonight,
All
a
right.
federal judge says
This will catch us up to this week. This is this week's trailer. Yeah.
Won't stop Pennsylvania from certifying its election results. District Judge Matthew Brand dismissed the suit brought by the Trump campaign.
If you are watching Newsmax TV or One America News, you are hearing lies
that President Trump is going.
I'm going to cheat and foreshadow. Remember her. Just remember her, Christina Bobb.
Going to win a second term.
Trump won the election. He'll win the recount. He'll win in court.
Right now, Joe Biden is pretending to be the president-elect.
Where'd you get your news from?
OAN, baby.
OAN?
They're a lot more honest than you. Even Fox News is crooked.
Well, Robin, simply put, Trump wants Republican-controlled state legislatures in key swing states to ignore the fact that voters picked Joe Biden and instead appoint a new slate of electors to the Electoral College. Remember, it's those electors who ultimately go on to pick the president.
That was November 20th. I think that broadcast was November 20th. So on November 20th, 2020, December 14th, 2020, where they actually did select fake electors in 7 states and they all signed their damn names to it. 3 weeks before, the news was explaining that they were going to replace the electors.
Inconceivable.
Oh, by the way, this is a perfect example of a self-report and projection, because everything he says here is true. It's just true about him.
Conceivable. You would think if you're in the FBI or Department of Justice, this is the biggest thing you could be looking at. Where are they? I've not seen anything. I mean, they just keep moving along and they go on to the next president.
I don't want to overplay the facts here, but if someone will study the president's authority in the Insurrection Act and in his ability to impose martial law, if there's widespread treaty, he will have the authority to arrest Zuckerberg, to arrest Tim Cook, to arrest the Clintons, to arrest anybody else who can be proven to be involved in illegal activity. I do not advocate preventive detention, but people who commit crimes, I think they can continue to get away with it because we have two-tier justice, are just wrong.
Joining us tonight by phone on the pardon of General Michael Flynn is his defense attorney, Sidney Powell. Great American she is, and this has got to be a special day for you, Sidney, and certainly for the general and his family.
The entire election, frankly, in all the swing states should be overturned, and the legislatures should make sure that the electors are selected for Trump.
Wow. Also in that week, Sidney Powell admits to the plan. 2 weeks before it happened. She is on national television explaining the coup plan.
And it's going to have to follow the constitutional provisions that it be decided according to the amendment. It's just
let's turn let's turn it to Smartmatic and.
Oh my God! There you go.
All right. So that gets us caught up to today. Let's see. How do we want to do this? I've been switching this around in the last hour. So I like to switch around what I use, not just straight the news. Okay, how did I want to do this? Let me start with what we bounce back and forth on how we do this. This week, I think what I'm going to do is start with what was most forward facing and then try to work backwards. If I'm a little out of line, I'm sorry. But I like to start with all the stuff that we could see and then start to go into some of the stuff that was going on behind the scenes, putting this into action that we didn't really know about. This week's a little more difficult because it's not as clear cut at how they separate. They're starting to mesh together more. Now, they separate again in December, but for this week, it's a little tough. All right, but let's start over here with this. Whoops, I already had that open. So we're going to get another commercial, but we'll deal with it. So this is November 22nd. We can see that these Trump lawsuits are getting thrown out left and right. I think the final number comes out to they went 2-74. They won 2 minor cases and they lost 74 cases. Can you imagine?
Look,
what
I want to make a movie.
What could you possibly do where you could have like, what is that? That's like a 12% success rate, maybe? Not even that. 7 would be 10%. So what was it, like 4%, 2%? Unbelievable. Two 3% successful, but 70% believe you.
New tonight, a federal judge says he won't stop Pennsylvania from certifying its election results. District Judge Matthew Brand dismissed the suit brought by the Trump campaign. The campaign argued Pennsylvania counties violated the Constitution with different approaches for fixing flawed mail-in ballots. The ruling appears to dash the president's hope that Pennsylvania's certification of the election will be delayed. And a new court filing by a group led by Republican U.S. Congressman Mike Kelly of Butler County is asking a Pennsylvania court.
You can see how much the Republicans, the state Republicans also, are getting involved by now. Last week we covered that the debacle where the people from Michigan who weren't going to certify the election were actually called to the White House, and these minor election officials in Michigan were brought to the White House to talk to the president. Why would the president be interfering with state minor Republican officials? Now you see the officials themselves are directly doing this.
Court to declare mail-in ballots unconstitutional. The lawsuit claims Pennsylvania should have amended its constitution before allowing mail-in voting. Kelly also introduced legislation in Congress to require states to count mail-in ballots before Election Day. Allegheny County is appealing a court ruling that forbids the counting of approximately 250 provisional ballots.
Yeah, that was like one of the ones they won. It obviously wasn't enough to do anything, but they made it like, oh my God, we won a case. Obviously, that's proof of fraud. So after knowing that, and this is why it's hard to bounce back and forth, because they knowingly admit in court that this isn't about fraud. But after having their stuff thrown out and after admitting there's no fraud, here on, I think it's the 25th.
From factories, design our
Is there a
furniture
date here?
in-house, and
I
work
think
directly
this
with
is the
customers,
25th
bringing
of
the highest
November.
quality.
Oh no, that's not what I need. I can't do all that. That's crazy. Hold on. Whoops, I didn't need to do that. There it goes. There's a smaller one I have where the president talks. Where'd that one go? Did I lose that? Oh, come on, Kevin. We can't do that. That's too much. There's another one I have. Is it this one? Okay, yeah, this is better. Sorry about that.
At Yardbird, we source our materials direct from
What's
factories,
up, bud?
design our
What's
furniture
going on,
in-house,
bud?
and work directly with our customers to bring you the highest quality outdoor
I know.
furniture
I'm
at a
trying to
fraction
get
of the
better.
price. Now open in Lone Tree and
Who
online
dis, since you
at
know who I am.
yardbird.com.
And if you wouldn't mind hitting that follow button. Okay, so after getting thrown out of court, yeah, this is November 25th. After getting thrown out in court, they have this hearing, this like show hearing in Pennsylvania where these people aren't sworn to oath. And who's there? Well, you're about to see Trump on the phone, but you have Rudy Giuliani there. You know who else is there? Phil Waldron. Now, we're not going to get into like his testimony there, but Phil Waldron is an essential back behind the bench player. He's the one who is, they attribute that PowerPoint to him, but he's been running this voter scam, this machines are broken scam, since like before 2018. He was seeking out Republicans in 2018 that had close elections that would be willing to claim the machines were fraud. So Phil Waldron, who we're going to learn more about some of their back end stuff in a bit, He was working directly with Rudy, directly with Flynn, Lynn Wood, Sidney Powell, Bernie Carrick, DeGeneva, Tenzing, and so many more. He's not only the one that brought forward the claims of voter fraud, he's the one who owns the company that did the audit in Antrim County, Michigan. And he helped arrange the audit in Arizona. He was going to do it, but it was too big of a conflict of interest in the open. So this is the president calling into this fake hearing that the Republicans are doing, knowing that it's fake, and they're doing this just to send the message that fraud occurred. If you remember, Trump blackmailed Zelensky to try to get Zelensky to do this for him. And it didn't work. And he got caught. And there's no punishment. So what does he do? He attacks America.
To you now, Mr. President, you are connected.
Now, you heard him say OAN. That's important, and I'll explain why in a bit.
But I really appreciate being asked to speak, and I'm in the Oval Office right now, and it's very interesting to see what's going on. And this was an election that we won easily. We won it by a lot. A big energy official was on this morning on a important show and said there's no way Trump didn't win Pennsylvania because the energy industry was all for him. I saw, with my eyes what happened, and he told me horror stories, absolute horror stories. So this was very sad to say it. This election was rigged, and we can't.
One of the things we talk about when we focus on media literacy and understanding what's propaganda versus what's reporting with an opinion. Propaganda doesn't come with evidence. Reporting with an opinion often has multiple cited sources. You'll notice that anything they say is either a direct lie that's already been refuted or conjecture with no evidence.
We can't let that happen. We can't let it happen for our country. And this election has to be turned around because we won Pennsylvania by a lot, and we won all of these swing states by a lot. Anybody watching television the night of the election was saying, wow, I was called by the biggest political people. Congratulations, sir, on a big win. And all of a sudden, ballots were dumped all over the place, and a lot of horrible things happened. And everybody in that room, I want to thank all of the...
Very specific. Ballots were dumped and horrible things happened. Hey, Hoser. Hey, you Hoser. Anyone that equates the 6th with 9/11 as mentally deficient, the left, in other words. Okay. So which do you think, I'm not going to get derailed, but which do you think is a bigger deal? 16 Saudis attacking an American building or 300 Republicans attacking American democracy, both subversively and violently? Either one, I agree. It's not on 9/11. You're right. It's not. One of them attacked a building. The other one had Americans attack America. You're right. They're not the same.
People that signed affidavits and all of the speakers, you're fantastic people. You're great patriots. I want to thank the senators for being there. And it's so important. Day before Thanksgiving, it really represents somebody. Between the voter suppression and all of the horrible things that happened to poll watchers, we have poll watcher affidavits.
The voter suppression. And here comes their biggest claim. We have affidavits. We have affidavits from people. That's our claim.
Piled up to the ceiling. They're all over. They were treated horribly all over this.
Sweet, I'm glad you are one of them. I will definitely send your information over to the FBI just in case.
All of these swing states. I mean, virtually all.
I get it. Only true patriots are willing to rise up and overthrow the government. Only a true patriot picks up arms against the government. You're right. That's what it says in the Constitution. True patriots attack American democracy and overthrow it because feelings. Aw, did your little feels get hurt because you lost? Must be tough.
All of the swing states and many other things were happening that were horrible. just horrible. But the poll watchers
My
weren't allowed
my
to watch.
liberal tears are crying for you, even though I'm not a lib. But it's more fun.
They were, in many cases, whisked out of the room, not only into pens that were 20, 30, 40, 60, 100 feet away, where you couldn't even see. They were using binoculars. People are reporting that they had to use binoculars, and that didn't work.
Yeah, lie.
If you were a Republican poll watcher, you were treated like a dog. And the Democrats had no problem.
You're so tough.
But they were
You are
rough.
so tough.
They were literally pushed out, and it was rough tactics. This is what happened here. This is not the United States of America, what happened, and I think everybody knows that.
It's okay. Do me a favor. Can you admit to your crimes right here in the chat and show how big of a man you are? That would be great.
That's why you're there, and that's why you're so vehement about it. We have many, many cases of people walking in, a woman, an elderly woman.
This is who you believe? We had many women. We had many women say this stuff. And Nacho and Hauser are like, yes, the women said it. There was fraud. Them sheep, me smart. Good job. Oh, them smart.
And says, oh, good, where would I go about voting? I'm sorry, you've already voted. Your ballot is in. I said, no, I didn't vote. No, your ballot is in.
So public urination. You got any pictures of that? No, you didn't. You're lying. I guarantee, Nacho, you did not piss on the Capitol lawn. You're not that big of a. You're just not that guy. You're not that guy. If you did, pics, or it didn't happen.
She said, no, I want to vote. Nope, your ballot is in. And then they give her a provisional ballot to sign, which goes nowhere. It's a disgrace that this is happening to our country.
So mass voter fraud, and I can prove it by this one story of a woman.
And if you would have said
Nice.
74 million votes the day before the election, every single professional in the business would have said there's no way of beating that. We got 11 million votes.
All the professionals that you also say are dumb.
4 years before in 2016, and we got many votes more than Ronald Reagan had when he won 49 states.
We got many more votes than 1980.
And nobody would have said we even had a chance of losing. And all you had to do is take a look at the numbers.
Pics or it didn't happen.
At 10 o'clock in the evening, when everybody thought the election was virtually over. And then
Exactly. All the evidence.
happened, but they're not weird.
I mean, it already started. It started in week 1 when they were like, obviously it's fraud because we couldn't see the ballots. And it's not up to us to prove that it's fraud. It's up to them to prove that it's not fraud.
To professionals, and they're not weird to Dominion and other people that operate machines, and they're not weird to the people that handle the ballots where they were flooded.
Yes. Can you tell me more about how dumb Joe Biden is? Yeah, Biden's dumb. Biden is out of it. Now your turn. Your turn. Admit this dude is a bumbling moron. Or keep thinking this emperor has clothes.
Flooding the market. People were getting...
Oh, the emperor has no clothes is a book. A book is a thing with words in it. Words are the things you're trying to type in my chat.
Their home. People that were dead were signing up for ballots. Not only were they coming in and putting in a ballot, but dead people were requesting ballots.
Yes, dead people were like, can I have my ballot?
Dead for years, and they were requesting ballots. And the whole world is watching us. The whole world is watching the United States.
The whole world is watching. And all you people at the Capitol, you true patriots, you ended American hegemony. Hegemony is a word. Google is a thing you can use to look that word up. You ended American hegemony by showing that democracy is over. And even if it survives, people like you don't want democracy. You want Hungary at best. You want the right to oppress others. And you feel oppressed when you don't get the right to oppress others. You have so much ingrained right to oppress others that equality feels like you're the victim. I feel so bad for you.
And we can't let them get away with it. And we have judges that are afraid to make a decision. We have judges that don't want to do the same thing. a very good
The judges are very unfair.
lawyer said, well, sir, I mean, that's a big...
Imagine claiming to be the strong man that can answer everything and secure America, then claiming the election you oversaw was the most fraudulent election ever, and claiming that you, the rich billionaire president of the United States, who's all powerful, is also the victim. So which is it? Is he powerful or is he a weak bitch? Is Trump a weak bitch that got his shit stolen? Or is he powerful? Was the election stolen and Trump is a weak ass bitch? Or is Trump all powerful, but yet he's not president? Wow, weird how both of those look shitty. Weird. Pick one.
Big statement for a judge to overthrow an election. I said, really?
Couchman,
He
everything.
got hundreds of thousands of votes more.
Everything the Republican Party does is projection. Everything.
Right now, and you're just covering a few of them. we have hundreds of affidavits of stories that are even worse than the stories I'm hearing. Why wouldn't they overturn an election? Certainly overturn it in your state.
So, that was an admission that he requests that the election be overturned. Russia, Russia, Russia! Oh my God! Hey, how about Hunter's laptop? How about Hunter's laptop? Can you tell me more about Hunter's laptop? But Hunter got some money! Oh, does Hunter work in the government like Jared, Ivanka, and the rest of those stooges? Do they work in the government? How many patents did Hunter get from China in the last 5 years? How many billions of dollars did he get from the Saudis in the last 4 years? Anyone? But Hunter Biden and hey, Nacho, did you ever read the Senate report? You know, the Republican-led committee, the Senate report, where it said Russia interfered in our election and that Trump was overly inviting of that? Did you ever read that? No, because those are words. Did you read the Mueller report? No, because they're words. But Fat Orange Guy told you, and you believe Fat Orange Guy was both powerful and victim. Rich guy, both powerful and most ill-treated president. Rich guy not get treatment fair. Rich guy not get fair treatment. What a puss. Soy soft. You're like a wet pretzel soft. You're like cat food soft. You're like a runny crap soft.
But you have more votes than you have voters.
Lie.
You take a look at Detroit, Michigan. You have more votes than you have voters.
Lie.
And then you have two people that don't want to certify. They don't want to certify, and they're harassed violently.
So the two people that don't want to certify were harassed. And by harassed, I mean I brought them to the White House to tell them not to certify the election. Meh. I mean, they went to the White House, those regular people in Michigan. But meh, who cares?
Off the cameras during the harassment for 2 hours. And then they said, wow. And they were afraid.
And they said, wow.
They went back to sign, and they couldn't do it because they said, we can't do it because this is corrupt. This is horrible what's taking place.
Yeah, you know, that's a lie because they did sign. See, he's just straight out lying. If people like Nacho could read words, they would read that, they said it would be wrong not to certify, and I have to uphold my duty as a patriot and certify this election even after being beckoned by the president. I have to do the right thing. But I'm sure they just work for Hugo Chavez and Dominion, right? All right, we get the point of that. All right, so where do I need to go next? Okay, so that's their outward claims. let's find out a little bit of truth. Let's scarily dig into a little bit of revealed truth. Now, what you're about to see here deals with the lawsuit stemming from the November 19th press conference where Giuliani's face was melting. They accused Dominion and specifically named a guy by the name of Eric Coomer, which, by calling him out as somebody that rigged the election, his life became in grave danger. Him and his family had to flee. They have a pending civil lawsuit against the Trump campaign and a number of people. If you go back, we've read some of the testimony, like the first half of Giuliani's testimony we read on stream. But in the testimony, the sworn testimony, Rudy admits to the whole plan. Rudy admits that he was working with Waldron, that he never did any research. He just put all this stuff out there to get a story out, that he was just lying, that they weren't claiming fraud in court. All of that was going on. So let's take a little gander into what happened.
Never seen video obtained exclusively by CNN's Tierney Sneed. You watch and see how obvious and ugly the former president's intent is. Started with lies about caravans of brown people coming for your women, taking your jobs, and bringing drugs, and ended with a mob of red hats convinced to attack the government, trumpeted as the cause of all that concern. The proof of his purpose is in his people. You'll see names: Sidney Powell, Rudy Giuliani, others, under oath, on camera, depositions. Lawsuit by a former executive with Dominion Voting Systems who claims he was defamed by the Trump campaign. Giuliani, Powell, prominent conservatives. The defendants are moving to dismiss the case. That's pending. But they did do the depositions, and on video you'll hear how they lay out the objective, namely feeding fears. Not with facts. Facts be damned. No proof of truth necessary. Case in point, a conspiracy theory that has been played mostly for laughs. Bizarre claim made on national TV. 2 American companies were working with a dead Venezuelan dictator. Absurd, yet absorbed. Listen.
We had a report that the heads of Dominion and Smartmatic, somewhere in the mid-teens, 2013, 14, whatever, went down to Venezuela for a get-to-know meeting with Maduro so they could...
He's reading... Just so you know, he's reading his affidavit. They asked him if this affidavit was complete.
Demonstrate to Maduro the kind of vote fixing they did for Chavez.
Barely say it, let alone believe it. Fallen man. From America's mayor to Trump's stooge.
I will talk about the irony of him calling somebody a fallen man.
A former federal prosecutor who says repeatedly he couldn't be bothered to verify whether any of the claims he was making were backed up by facts.
Hey, Nacho, you went to the Capitol to attack. When they admit they lied to you, that's gotta feel weird, doesn't it? You're seeing that they lied to you, like right here, in your face. This idiot is telling you that you're an idiot. I'm sorry. Do you need a hug, my friend?
You say the heads of Dominion and Smartmatic?
Yes, that's what I was told. Before the press conference, I was told about it. Sometimes I go and look myself online when stuff comes up. This time I didn't have the time to do it. It's not my job in a fast-moving case to go out and investigate every piece of evidence that's given to me. Otherwise, you're never going to write a story. You never come to a conclusion.
You're never going to write a story.
First of all, it wasn't a case. It was and is a con. And Rudy likely knew it. Now, why would I say that? because the Trump camp had a memo debunking the claims of election fraud, yet they didn't say a word. Under oath, Sidney Powell, forced to admit that getting to the truth was never an objective.
You had the ear of a number of conservative media outlets. Why did you not ask to provide a statement correcting that the misstatement that you had a recording?
That didn't seem to be the material part of the inquiry.
Material part.
So, FYI, here's the memo. It goes through and debunks all the lies they were telling. And it was from November 14th, which I think is the day after Chris Krebs testified that the election was secure. So both publicly and privately, they knew everything they were saying was a lie.
Truth wasn't material? Now look, you'll say, hey look, in politics they all lie. That's not true, but you can feel that way. I understand why you would. You don't have good reason to be cynical right now. But just know, if you or anyone decides to still put stock in Trump's sludge, you now know you are buying a bunch of lies.
Yeah, Nacho!
Designed to destroy confidence in government. Listen to the response to why the Trumpets would ignore a report that corrected their assertions done by the Department of Homeland Security on the integrity of the election.
I'm asking if the Trump
Thank you,
campaign
thank you,
read this
thank
and
you.
considered it.
Thank you, Nightwolf. I appreciate you.
Not to my knowledge.
Why would they not have read this? It comes from the U.S. government.
Objective Foreman Foundation.
You still can't hear me? If you still can't hear me, I think it's on... Yeah, I was going to say, if you can't hear me, I think it's on your end. Okay. Hopefully you get that fixed. Thank you, Nacho. I appreciate you. I hope you know I'm just having some fun with you. I do appreciate you as a human.
Rudy's justification for spreading sputum is that everybody does.
Oh, I know why. Hold on, I can fix that. You can hear me now, though, right?
So what we have here is a battle to the
You only have one ear. Yeah. I keep forgetting to. There's like a mix down that takes my mono to stereo, and sometimes I forget to do it. So you only have the one side, and it's the side that I'm not on. I wasn't on.
And obtained exclusively. Rudy Giuliani, the former mayor of New York City, the former president's lawyer, deposed in a defamation case dealing with Dominion voting systems and these other voting systems here. I just want to play the former mayor here. Let's see it.
We had going well. Where we are so far is we're exposing the public-facing stuff that the campaign and Rudy and his team were doing, and then we're going to move into some of the stuff that was a little bit more behind the scenes.
A report that the heads
How are you doing?
Dominion and Smartmatic somewhere in the mid
He's that little guy that played for Notre Dame. There was a movie about him.
2013, 14, whatever. Went down to Venezuela for a get-to-know meeting with Maduro so they could demonstrate to Maduro the kind of vote fixing they did for Chavez.
You say the heads of Dominion and Smartmatic?
Yes, that's what I was told. Before the press conference, I was told about it. Sometimes I go and look
All right,
myself.
he's basically repeating himself. So what he was saying was Phil Waldron, again, that name comes up. Phil Waldron was part of his team that was so Rudy on the 4th was assigned by Trump to go take over the election stuff. he brought in Powell, Jenna Ellis, DeGeneva, Tenzing, Boris Epstein, Bernie Carrick, Phil Waldron, Flynn, Lynn Wood, and some more. We've reviewed it and we'll do it again at a later date. But he brought them all in immediately to start working together on pumping out these, he had the person that was making up the claims in his group, and then he was using those claims to tell these lies. And then they were using both these lies and to go say them publicly in these fake hearings. And then they used Waldron to go do the audit. So people keep looking at this as like individual events, but when you piece it all together, it's not. We already did that one. Giuliani is right wing, very right wing. Moving into what was Lou Dobbs, how do I want to do this? Okay, so that's what was going on with Trump. Now, as a little reminder, we had back in September before the election, this is what was said. Now, Roger Stone, who was pardoned by Trump for his crimes surrounding the Russia investigation, talking to Alex Jones, close personal friend of the president, who also, both of these people worked directly with the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers. Also worked directly with the March for Trump people and directly with Ali Alexander, who's the Stop the Steal guy, even though Roger Stone invented Stop the Steal in 2016. These aren't like sparse connections. These are direct links.
But I still honestly believe in my heart that if only voters who are entitled to legally vote because they are citizens vote, and they vote once, Donald Trump will be elected president.
True.
The ballots in Nevada on election night should be seized by federal marshals.
Remember, this is before the election. He is calling for the seizure of voting machines.
And taken from the state. They are completely corrupted. No votes should be counted from the state of Nevada if that turns out to be the provable case. We can prove voter fraud in the absentees right now. Send federal marshals to the Clark County Board of Elections, Mr. President. It's all there.
Roger Stone, that was my next question. What does Trump need to do with 53 days out? Because it's clear they think they can steal it. They've said they're going to oppose it. Big tech, Zuckerberg says they're going to launch it for weeks or months, hold it up. I mean, that's their plan. How do we counter this?
The president should call former Congressman Bob Barr, and he should ask him, he should appoint him a special counsel. He should order his appointment as a special counsel with the specific task of forming an election day operation using the FBI, federal marshals, and Republican state officials across the country to be prepared to file legal objections and, if necessary, to physically stand in the way of criminal activity.
Does the DOJ not know how to Google?
Exactly. And the whole Democrat strategy is if federal officers or locals enforce election law, that's criminal and that's blocking votes when they have bombed the country with 80 million basically fake ballots to gum things up on.
No, they didn't actually seize the machines because he wanted to, and we get into this later, he wanted to, but the lawyers and other people in the Oval were like, no, it's too far.
Purpose. And the Clintons are now, as you said, chortling, admitting that they have a military plan once the election is.
Our elections here are run state by state. So if the federal government gets involved in state elections, it is a huge problem.
In question to remove Trump, is that wishful thinking, or do they have a small cadre and they're trying to act powerful? What's the plan?
I don't want to overplay the facts here, but if someone will study the president's authority in the Insurrection Act and in his ability to impose martial law, if there's widespread treating, he will have the authority to arrest Zuckerberg, to arrest Tim Cook, to arrest the Clintons, to arrest anybody else who can be proven to be involved in illegal activity. I do not advocate preventive detention, but people who commit crimes, I think they can continue to get away with it because we have two-tier justice, are just
Yeah,
wrong.
not executed.
Let's be clear. When we have a Chi-Com-backed big tech running slave camps in China, belligerently trying to steal the election, and they've pressed the attack and they won't stop, they believe in a game of chicken. They're about to win. I've never heard you, and I've seen you back 40 years ago on TV, talk like this. You're not an alarmist. You're a realist. This is the wheelhouse they've taken us to.
Well, the Republican structure in the states and nationally is not prepared for the aftermath of this election, legally or politically. They're not prepared. There's going to be widespread, obvious, blatant, flagrant illegality. The authority exists to stop that. It will have to be used if necessary. I'm not jumping the gun, but I can just tell you right now, the votes from Nevada should not be counted. They are already flooded with illegals. If Harry Reid is involved, take Harry Reid into custody and charge him. This is not complicated, and it is 100% legal. Governor Sisolak is a punk. He should not face down the president of the United States. Governor, this is the president. I have just nationalized your state police. You follow me?
Well, and they've got groups marching.
I've just nationalized your state police. That should have sent alarms all over the country, but it didn't. I can't exactly explain how, but it didn't. Let's see. Hold on. Okay. So, on top of that, the president finally did an interview. And I think it was on November 29th, maybe. So, he had not come out and spoken to the public or done an interview for almost a month while claiming fraud. Now we know, and I'm not going to get into this article, but now we know Fox's Maria Bartiromo fed the White House Trump's questions before interview. So Fox was involved. Fox was involved because we know how many times
workers over
whoops,
time.
That's not what I needed. We know how many texts and how many people were texting Mark Meadows. We don't know about Giuliani's text, but we know Giuliani was calling the president, and we know the FBI has Giuliani's electronic communications. Whoops, this isn't a playlist. I'm all over the place. Sorry. Yes, it was. Okay.
President Trump's hopes.
Where'd you get your news from?
So, while Trump was getting the answers and doing Fox promo, this is how Fox on November 30th was framing what had been going on. So now we're starting to get into how the media was dealing with this situation. The media, the right-wing media, was working directly with the campaign. You have Bartiromo feeding talking points to Trump. We know they were talking to Trump on election night. And look at how they were framing things.
Let's begin with this Fox News alert. President Trump has called out the FBI and the Justice Department. In his very first interview since Election Day, he told Maria Bartiromo on Sunday Morning Futures the DOJ is, quote, missing in action on his claims of election fraud, which courts in multiple states have dismissed. No comment yet from the Justice Department. A senior FBI official told Fox News there is no blanket investigation of voter fraud as of today, but if appropriate evidence presents itself, the Bureau would.
Now remember, under sworn testimony, Chris Krebs said there was no fraud. This was a secure election. But that isn't part of the narrative.
Look at it. The president still showing no signs that he will concede to President-elect Joe Biden.
And I'm sure if 3 weeks, 4 weeks in the 2024 election, I'm sure if Biden has decided he's not going to accept the election, I'm sure they'll treat it this way. I'm sure.
Insisting the feds must investigate what he calls a rigged election.
So Biden calls for the DOJ and the feds to investigate how the Republicans stole the election. Let's check into what he said.
It's inconceivable. You would think if you're in the FBI or Department of Justice, this is the biggest thing you could be looking at. Where are they? I've not seen anything. I mean, they just keep moving along and they go on to the next president.
You're watching Outnumbered. I'm Harris Faulkner. Here today, host of Kennedy on the Fox Business Channel, Kennedy. Fox News Headlines, 24/7 reporter Carly Shimkus is here, and Fox News contributor Jessica Tarlov. Joining us today in the center virtual couch seat, Fox News political analyst and host of One Nation on Fox Nation, Lawrence Jones. Hello, and post things.
Okay, so we're going to play a little game here. I'm going to put a check mark. Each time somebody establishes that there was no proof of voter fraud. I'm going to put an X over each person that establishes your vote was stolen. Let's see how this works.
Thanksgiving, are we awake yet?
Yeah. You waking up right barely. Stretch it out.
Oh my goodness. You know, Lawrence, when you look at this and the president's level of frustration, things are moving forward. They are moving ahead. What would you say to him and his followers about where we are with the DOJ? Haven't heard anything from the DOJ yet.
Well, I think for starters, we should start off by saying that Friday that the president said that if the election is certified through the Electoral College, that he will leave the White House. That was one of the things. So all the naysayers about this constitution.
If I don't succeed on violently overthrowing the government on January 6th, I will leave.
Crisis. I think that kind of puts that to bed. But I do think that the burden now is on the president's legal team to come up with a case. I mean, you've even seen people like Rush Limbaugh that is frustrated with the legal team because they came out with so many claims, but it really hasn't cut the mustard when it comes.
Okay, so far he's saying there is no voter fraud and we need evidence. This is fairly honest.
To our legal process. So I think if I could say anything to the president's supporters is that put pressure on the legal team to actually get a case in front of a judge that is credible. I mean,
show some evidence. He's urging the fans. This is very good.
There is no doubt that there is voter fraud.
Oh, what? Wait. What? How did he get there?
Put pressure on the legal team to actually get a case in front of a judge that is credible. I mean, there is no doubt that there is voter fraud. The question is, was there enough of voter fraud to overturn this election?
So he just told us there's no evidence of fraud, and viewers, you need to demand evidence. And then he said your vote was stolen. There's no doubt your vote was stolen. I just don't know how many of your votes were stolen. Well, who stole them? Well, obviously the Democrats. They're the ones that stole them. Your vote was stolen by the Democrats.
And right now, based on the facts that we know, it's not enough of that.
Well, in Kennedy, there is always something.
Okay,
We're
so
talking about human beings.
So if I was watching this as a Fox viewer, I was just told that my vote was stolen. I guess he gets an X.
talking about inanimate objects. It's not that these things never happen or are found. It's just that now we are so forensically focused on them. The point, though, is there enough of what is found to make a difference.
Wait, did she just set a floor that voter fraud happened?
That we know is not enough of that.
Well, in Kennedy, there is always something. You're talking about human beings, you're talking about inanimate objects. It's not that these things never happen or are found. It's just that now we are so forensically focused on them. The point, though, is there enough of what is found to make a difference.
Anytime you are changing votes or suppressing votes, I think that's enough for at least a local investigation. And I think Lawrence is absolutely right. And that's why you're seeing frustration from some conservatives, because as far as they're concerned, they're like, yes, we are all in. We are behind you. We want to see what really happened.
This is Fox saying election fraud didn't happen? Weird. Weird. I'm actually proving in real time that Fox is telling you your vote was stolen.
But they also want to see.
So do you agree your vote was stolen and the election was rigged? Is that your point? Was the election stolen and Trump just sucks at proving crimes? Did Trump suck at proving crimes and the election was stolen, or did he lie? Which one is it? Just pick one.
The evidence. They want to see this legal team put up. And, you know, you saw the legal team distance themselves from Sidney Powell after she made some outrageous claims. And there's also the disparity between what his team is claiming in public press conferences and the evidence that they're putting before judges. And the evidence they're filing in these court briefs, it's pretty mild in comparison, and still that.
So, like, there's voter fraud, but it's not really that big a deal. I don't care about your vote specifically. Were Republican votes stolen by Democrats, and Trump sucks at proving it? Or is Trump lying? Which one is it? Does he suck at proving voter fraud and he's incompetent? Or is he lying? Which one?
Dismissed. So there could be different local avenues to investigate this, and investigate it. It shall be.
Okay, so there is voter fraud. She's established there is voter fraud, and that your vote was stolen. We just don't know if it's enough votes to overturn the election. So she has established the floor that voter fraud did occur and your vote was stolen.
Carly, I'm looking at my notes today for the agenda items, and one of the things that we will see later on today is that there is a meeting of Arizona House and Senate members who were doing exactly what Kennedy is.
So Trump's just incompetent, and so are the Republicans. Okay, as long as you accept that the entire right is so incompetent that there's mass voter fraud that you know about, but they can't prove it, and they lost 74 out of 76 cases. That's how bad. That's like that. Imagine having a 76-game hockey season and only winning 2 games. That's the level of suck the GOP has done at proving voter fraud. So you want those people to run the country. Those are the ones you want in charge. The ones that get 2 wins out of 76 games. Those are your guys. That's the one you want in charge. Those are the people you want leading you.
Talking about. They're taking a look.
That's weird.
At potential fraud.
Sounds like a bad choice.
Really what's in the system on a local level. We're told that the Trump legal team, Jenna Ellis and Rudy Giuliani, the legal team for the Trump campaign, will join virtual. And that's in the next couple of hours or so. So, I mean, this is going on in some areas at the local level. But at this point, as Lawrence has pointed out, I mean, you would have to have so much of this happening almost simultaneously to make a difference expeditiously.
Yeah.
Again, voter fraud is happening. You know that. We all know voter fraud. We all know your vote was stolen. The question is how many of your votes were stolen. Because if they tell Republicans that your vote was stolen, that votes were stolen, then every Republican assumes it was their vote that was stolen. So they're telling you, we don't know how many votes were stolen, but know that your vote was stolen.
You know, I spoke to a constitutional law expert earlier this morning on Fox and Friends First, Mark Smith, very smart guy, and he pointed out that the court system, in his perspective, hasn't treated President Trump and his legal team fairly, because a lot of the evidence that they need is currently in the hands of the people that the legal team are suing, the county and state election leaders. So
remember when before the election, Roger Stone told Alex Jones that they need to seize the voting machines? Weird how Fox is reporting that, like, they need to seize the voting machines. I'm sure it's just a coincidence.
According to him, it would be up to the courts to sort of force their hands to give that supposed evidence, if there is any, on over to the Trump legal team, and that hasn't happened yet. But during his conversation with Maria Bartiromo, President Trump did say that he is going to use 100.
During his conversation where he was given the questions, were they working together?
25% of his energy to continue to contest this election. So while Joe Biden is getting classified briefings now and he's filling out his cabinet,
What's up, Corvo? Thanks for coming by. I appreciate you.
In this fight. Like you
Hey,
said,
if you could, if you enjoy what you get here, please hit that follow button.
To be able to overturn this election.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I was saying hello. Did she just say your vote was stolen? Did she just do the thing?
Supporters are still very much in this fight. Like you said, it does boil down to having enough evidence to be able to overturn this election, which will definitely be a tall task. They have already proved election irregularities in terms of, several thousands of votes that weren't counted in Georgia, but they definitely need more than that for him to be able to succeed in any significant way.
Left or right what?
Jessica, you can look at how the media in some places have.
Okay, so all three, I'm for what's best for people. What does that make me? If I want what's best for Americans, what does that make me? If I want what's best for all Americans, what does that make me? That's where I am.
Covered what's going on right now, really not leaving a lot of room for all of us to go forward as one, as a nation. And sometimes that takes, as you...
Okay, so depends on your... No, it doesn't. No. If you want what's best for all Americans, then what does it matter if I'm left or right? What does it matter if you're left or right? If we both want what's best for all Americans, we should be able to work from there. Should be simple.
You and I both know respecting both sides. It's what we do on the show every day. And
okay, respecting both sides is what we need to do. So these three people and Harris have all established that voter fraud has occurred. They just don't know how much. So they have established that your vote was stolen. Will we go 5 for 5?
Listening to people. Joe Biden, though, had a word for the process and called.
I don't care about ideals or right or left. If everybody wants what's best for everybody, then how could I hate or be against somebody else? I'm not doing healthcare. You can do healthcare when we're done here.
Those who are supporting the president called.
This is about identifying truth week by week. We're on the 4th week of November, 2020.
It's kind of in the food chain of government on that side of the aisle as being sincere as they move through the transition. Do you think maybe that could spread? I'm sort of being facetious, but wow.
I totally agree with you about the importance of people treating each other with respect and acknowledging that folks' feelings are real. Now, they may have been fed a bunch of lies about this, and that's what Brian Kemp is talking about, the governor of Georgia, who now President Trump has gone after, even going so far as to say it was a mistake to support him a couple years ago when he ran. But he said that people are sincere in their feelings, as you point out, and they have been told that this election was stolen from them, that their votes did not count it, that there were irregularities.
I agree with these people. If I let's say I'm MAGA and I turn on the news and I see the news telling me my vote was stolen, and then I see my elected official telling me my vote was stolen, and then I see my president telling me my vote was stolen, and then I go to church on Sunday and everybody there tells me my vote was stolen, I would think my vote was stolen. I would think the most patriotic thing I could do if people were destroying democracy is save it. I would think that is a loyal thing to do. If that was everything I consumed and I decided I was never going to check and see if there were facts behind it. Now, what you were being told, as you can see day by day, week by week, was easily proven lies. But if you trust all the circle around you without questioning, I easily see how somebody would show up at the Capitol and want to fight for justice as they were told. That's logical to me.
Getting up into the hundreds of thousands, which are the margins that President Trump would need to win by to overturn the result. When you even look at Michigan, where Joe Biden won by 12 times the margin that Trump did in 2016. So I hope that we will have more care for each other going forward. But we also need, most fundamentally, for people on the right to accept the fact that this election was free and fair. And I would encourage everyone to listen to Chris Krebs' interview yesterday on 60 Minutes with Scott Pelley, where he went through every single accusation of fraud that has been lobbed out there. And he explained how each of them had absolutely no merit.
Watch that. Look at that. So right here. Oh, wait. Wrong view. Sorry. Hold on.
Talked about how many paper ballots were used. He talked about the hand recount in Georgia. He talked about how nothing went through a Dominion system in Venezuela. Hugo Chavez didn't direct this from the grave, didn't go to Germany. It was completed in America. Americans voted, and they chose Joe Biden.
Move through the train.
So she just, we talk about propaganda versus reporting with an opinion. Every one of these people with an X said, we don't know if there's even proof, but we know there's fraud. Gave no proof. She said, no fraud. And the reason I say no fraud is because under oath, the person in charge of finding fraud said no fraud. And he was hired by Trump to protect the election. And he said no fraud. So you have no proof. And people who believe it are just being lied to by you bastards who are telling them their vote was stolen. She gets a check mark. Okay. What else was going on in our media sphere at that time?
Where'd you get your news from?
OAN, baby.
OAN?
They're a lot more honest than you. Even Fox News is crooked.
For the first time, Fox News is facing real competition from the right.
Welcome to our new viewers.
If you're watching Newsmax TV or One America News, you are hearing lies that President Trump is going to win a second term.
Trump won the election. He'll win the recount.
I told you at the very beginning, remember that name. That's Christina Bobb. Giuliani admitted under oath in that testimony, that same testimony we watched earlier, you can read in the deposition, that Giuliani explains Christina Bobb was working with them directly. She's a lawyer that was also working to identify and claim voter fraud. They had a deal with OAN of what was allowed to be shown and what wasn't. So not only did we just see that Fox was directly participating on air and behind the scenes with the campaign on how to lie about voter fraud. In addition, Christina Bobb was working directly with the campaign while propagandizing to people.
He'll win in court.
Right now, Joe Biden is pretending to be the president-elect.
Oh, and FYI, the founder of Newsmax is a close friend of Trump's. So you have Newsmax, all the Murdoch networks, and OAN all directly involved.
Be clear. Those are conspiracy theories and baseless accusations.
So Fox News has traditionally been defined by the fact that it has a kind of newsy operation, and then it has a very strong sort of network-defining opinion operation.
We here at One American News are the only ones providing truthful, accurate numbers.
For OAN and Newsmax and the like, there is less of a concern with journalistic integrity, which means that there's actually less of a need to be pinned down by particular reported facts.
Now that Fox has joined the mainstream media in censoring factual reporting,
Anytime that there has been any daylight between Fox News and President Trump, that's where OAN and Newsmax see themselves as having kind of a competitive advantage.
The Fox News decision desk is calling Arizona.
When Fox News called Arizona and eventually the presidency for Biden, some viewers were not happy.
Fox News is going to tell you to sit on your couch and accept that this election was stolen from you like a good little, person.
Newsmax and OAN saw an opening, and they've capitalized on it with conspiracy theories.
Newsmax has not called the election.
Wait. Here. So, this is Chanel Rion. Now, that's Chanel Rion. Chanel Rion worked directly with Giuliani, and I can't remember the guy's name, in Ukraine, to sell the Ukraine story about Joe Biden. At the same time, they were trying to blackmail Zelensky about Joe Biden. So Giuliani talks about how close of a relationship he had with Chanel, all because of the experience and the work they did together on the Ukraine hoax.
Newsmax has not called the election.
And that's Trump's buddy.
Biden. Not because we support Donald Trump, because we support democracy. Every vote should count, Brian.
This alternative universe where the election is not over and where Trump might still win is resonating. OAN's ratings are not publicly available, but Newsmax's ratings are, and the channel has seen real growth over the 3 weeks surrounding the 2020 election. Newsmax drew an audience of 63,000 viewers a day the week leading up to November 3rd. 2 weeks later, the average audience was more than 6 times that size. These numbers are still pretty small in comparison to the millions who flock to Fox News every night. But this surge is the first time in Fox's history that any conservative competitor has posed a serious threat.
So when we talk about conservative television, we often think only of Fox News. It's dominated the landscape since it first was launched in 1996. There was some conservative television as way back as the 1960s and the 1970s, but it's not really until Fox News comes on the scene in 1996 that people begin to see that it is possible to be profitable with some sort of conservative targeted programming.
2 years later, Newsmax.com and an accompanying magazine were launched by Chris Ruddy, a former reporter and longtime friend of Donald Trump.
This is during the Clinton years where there were all of these scandals being generated by right-wing media, and that's really the environment that something like Newsmax comes out of.
And I was part of that machine, sort of the Clinton attack machine that went after the president at the time.
Newsmax was profitable in its first decade, largely thanks to its newsletters. The 24-hour cable channel Newsmax TV was launched in 2014.
When Fox started almost 20 years ago, we had a problem with the liberal media, and we still have the same problem. It hasn't changed.
The liberal media hasn't changed in 20 years. The liberal media hasn't changed. So what has changed? Oh, the right-wing media. The right-wing media has changed. It's not that left-wing media is radicalized. It's that they just do the same thing they've been doing. And ironically, you don't see a lot of positive Joe Biden segments on left-wing media. That's owned by a variety of people. Unlike right-wing media, it's all owned by the same people.
Thank you, Owen. One American News came later. Robert Herring, a businessman with no prior journalism experience, created the channel in 2013 to relative obscurity. And early broadcasts look pretty amateur. Trump's campaign for president was really the turning point for OAN. In 2015, the channel started to gain a following by live streaming Trump rallies in full. On both
all Trump, all the time. We'll sell you the whole seat, but you'll only need the edge.
platforms, the president has enjoyed glowing coverage.
You know what he reminds me of a little bit? Our president, Rocky.
And softball questions.
You're at the top of your game. What's your secret?
In return, he praises them.
Newsmax is doing a great job. OAN has been fantastic. I mean,
so Biden hasn't done anything worth shitting on. Okay, so you don't hate Biden. That's cool.
Really fantastic.
I'm not a Biden fan.
Great. But no, I'm not happy with Fox.
And the lies and conspiracy theories peddled by these outlets have contributed to a widespread lack of faith in the election. A recent Monmouth poll found that Republicans' distrust, in particular, rose sharply.
Weird how the Democrat line is relatively stable, and yet a radical change in a very short period of time on the right. A radical change. Just like I said, I feel for those people. I empathize with those people that went to D.C. and were manipulated by this. I get it. But this line shows you up going towards the election, we all felt the same. And then all of a sudden, people got radicalized.
In the aftermath of the election, 61% of Republicans are not at all confident that the election was fair and accurate.
And the big question is, how temporary...
He called them beautiful people, and I love you. I don't go by what somebody said one time somewhere that you can clip. Like, that's useless. I go by evaluating the truth and the reality of the situation. And I have, by the time we're done, I will have provided about 30 hours worth of evidence of what happened. You can make up your own decision. If you can find evidence to the contrary, wonderful. I am providing the evidence from my hundreds of hours of research. That's as easy as I can do it.
Temporary or not temporary is this? Are people switching over there full time? Or is this just kind of a protest viewing that will eventually move back to Fox News?
Okay. What I don't want to watch the Majority of Report one. Well, just this part.
Like a total feminist queen. Coincidentally, all day have all sorts of the votes. Very weird.
Joining us now by phone is Sidney Powell. She's a member, obviously, of the president's legal team. Also, General Michael Flynn's defense attorney, a great American, one of the country's leading appellate attorneys. Sidney, first of all, thanks. I know.
Meanwhile, when he said that, Flynn and Powell and Lynn Wood and Waldron were all working directly together. They started down at Lynn Wood's place, I think in South Carolina. And then they moved, I think, to D.C. to whatever hotels they were in. I think the Orient was one of them, and then they moved to the Willard.
You are going every which direction right now, busy as you could possibly be. Let's start out right now with the president's path to victory here as you and the legal team see it. If you could give us just that canvas very quickly.
Well, yes, Lou. The entire election, frankly, in all the swing states should be overturned, and the legislatures should make sure that the electors are selected for Trump, and it's going to have to follow the constitutional provisions that it be decided according to the amendment. It's just
that's weird, because we also saw earlier that that the news knew this was the plan.
Let's turn let's turn it to Smartmatic and.
Oh my God! There you go.
I love that's her case.
Yeah.
All of the swing states, you overturn it and you give it to Trump. Not like, oh, we should go and determine and maybe determine or revote or figure out how.
Yeah, we don't need to like see what the truth was and let it play out. We just need to give the electors to Trump because
what the outcome actually was. No, just give them to Trump.
What is your evidence, counsel? Well, my evidence is that Constitution, swing states should be electors.
For Trump.
For Trump. There it is. I rest my case.
Lou Dobbs.
Even Lou Dobbs. Even Lou Dobbs is like speechless. Like, wait a second. Don't you want to build up to that at all? Do you want to provide any, like, you want to backfill any of that? Or it's just like, are there any particular swing states? Or are we just going to do all of them? How are we defining swing states? Why not? Shouldn't we just make this easier and say, Donald Trump, it's not just swing states, it's every state. Every state in the union should go to Donald Trump. Every state. Maybe you could just say, like, except for like New York and California, because there's no way he won there. Well, maybe New York.
Yeah.
So every state except for California, Donald Trump. This should be 49-1 states based upon the Constitution. I rest my case.
Yeah, Lou Dobbs was just traumatized from seeing.
So, yeah, that's the argument being made. Well summed up, Sam Cedar. Okay, so let's see. Which direction do we go next?
Welcome back. The panel is with us. NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Casey Hunt. Hugh Hewitt, host on the Salem Radio Network. O.K. Henderson, news director of the Radio Iowa Network. And Michael Eric Dyson of Vanderbilt University, author of Long Time Coming, Reckoning with Race in America. President Trump, folks, is still insisting that he won the election.
That.
However,
we don't need that one. We don't need that one either.
There was
cool. Did we get to the end of
for...
these? Sweet. Okay. So this was the last one on here, and then we get into the final portion of tracking what was going on.
Well, joining us tonight by phone on the pardon of General Michael Flynn is his defense attorney.
What? On November 25th, Flynn was pardoned while Flynn was working to steal the election? Isn't that interesting? That Trump, the guy trying to steal the election, pardoned Flynn, the guy trying to help him steal the election. He also pardoned Steve Bannon, the guy helping him to steal the election, and he pardoned Roger Stone, the guy helping him to steal the election.
Sidney Powell, great American she is, and this has got to be a special day for you, Sidney, and certainly for the general and his family.
It is, Lou. Thank you. It's really bittersweet because if the justice system had worked properly, we would not have had to have gotten this pardon. But we certainly appreciate President Trump giving it to General Flynn because this has gone on far too long. We now know that Judge Sullivan was just a political ploy. He's made a political game out of all of this.
Yes, another corrupt judge is what it is. You love the justice system. You love the cops, but every time something doesn't go your way, the justice system is broken. It's just like the powerful billionaire that will solve anything that claims he's the victim of a theft of the election he was in charge of. He's the victim and the power. He's Jesus, the powerful, and Jesus, the crucified. He is both. Weird. It's a weird dynamic to buy of a human being. So we go and we see that on we're still too far back. So this is where I said you have Ali Alexander, Alex Jones, and Nick Fuentes all together inside the Capitol as part of an organized armed protest. Now, if I went back, you'd see on November 6th or November 7th, there was an organized protest by these protest organizers and others to have people protest at all 50 capitals. Then, a week later, they had a major protest where they arranged to have everybody in D.C. The militia organized a caravan, and they had thousands and thousands of people chanting "Stop the Steal" by November 14th. There were Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, all together. Fuentes invited them, Alex Jones, Roger Stone, all invited them. Ali Alexander, Tario was there, Rhodes was there. Then you fast forward, 18th, they're there together. Then we keep moving forward. Trump on the 21st, watch hundreds of activists gather for Stop the Steal rally in Georgia. So, Trump did use a Bannon article to promote this armed rally in Georgia. We find out that the militia are now passing out flyers already for December 12th, March. Interesting enough, it's a begin at the Freedom Plaza, march to Capitol Hill, almost like a trial run. It's the exact same march that was done, except this march, it was a permit for a march. This was an actual march. On the 29th, a prolific Oath Keepers member in the group's paid chat room calls on other users to attend election protests in D.C. on the 12th. The users specifically ask for law enforcement officers with firearm permits to attend. Well, why? Why are the Oath Keepers organizing armed people after admitting they had armed people outside of D.C.? Why are they doing this? And why are they working with Alex Jones and everybody else who's also working with the White House? Now, in addition, before I do that, on the 30th, which is like a day after, but that's okay, Trump campaign lawyer Joe DeGeneva, who was working in the same office with all these other people, appears on Newsmax, weird, and says that Krebs, the former director of the Department of Homeland Security's Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, who managed CISA's effort to respond to prevalent election-related misinformation and who was fired by Trump by tweet for his effort, should be drawn and quartered. He should be taken out at dawn and shot. So somebody working to overthrow the election says that the guy hired by Trump to secure the election, who said it was secured and then was fired, should be killed. He's advocating for the violence because of words. Is that free speech? Is that the free speech thing that they're talking about? The free speech that you're free to say what you want, but if you say what we don't like, we want to kill you. Is that free speech? That seems like they want to cancel him. Why do they want to cancel Chris Krebs and everybody that just says what they're saying and asks questions? So you see, even down here, users in American Patriots 3%, 3%ers anti-government militia movement claim that the organization's Louisiana members will travel to D.C. It's against the law to threaten someone's life. You'd think, but that he didn't get prosecuted. He apparently that's the free speech they want to be able to get away with. Did you advocate for him being arrested or being canceled for that speech? Will you advocate for that? No. So, yeah, that's the free speech they want. They want to be able to say that other people aren't Americans and don't deserve to live. That's what they want to say. The 3%ers agreed they're going to December 12th. So you have the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, and now the 3%ers. Agree with you 100%, but we will be lucky to get a hand slap Louisiana is going to D.C. on the 12th. Is anyone else going out? So maybe we can meet up and make a greater AP3 persistence. I don't know what that is. If you know what that is, let me know. Agree, need to remove the cancer permanently before it gets too late. Like, these people don't have a hand in the prisons and jails. What would locking them up accomplish? Sounds like advocating for violence based on these weird lies. Now, this right here, this Women for America First, this is the other side of the protest. So you have the militia side, but then you have this public-facing side that is made up of Kylie Crummer, Amy Crummer, Dennis Stockton, and I think his fiance, Jennifer Lawrence. Not the Jennifer Lawrence, this Jennifer Lawrence. And you can see they not only plan for a rally on December 12th, but they've now started a bus tour to rile people up, to get people going. Why do you need a bus tour if what you really want is the facts? What are you doing? What happened in Tennessee? What happened in Indiana? What happened in Iowa? What happened in South Carolina and North Carolina? What are these stops about? If this is about getting to the bottom of what happened in the election, why do you need 30 pep rallies? 30 pep rallies in states that elected you, and you don't claim fraud. You don't claim fraud in 50% or more of these stops. So why be there? Who are you trying to rile up? Unless you're doing a practice run of getting the country to DC. FYI, these planners were in direct communication with the White House. You'll see that later. Come on, you can do it, computer. I just ordered a new computer a couple weeks, and this stuff will actually go faster. We're almost done, though. So you can see, by this week, the first event was South Florida on the 29th. If you really thought this was going to get solved in court, why do you need a rally like 2 weeks out? And why do you need a pep rally? Why do you need 30 pep rallies if what you're trying to do is prove something in court? If what you have is evidence and you're going to prove it in court, why do you need pep rallies? Why do you need the Oath Keepers, the 3%ers, and the Proud Boys, coincidentally the same ones that are being found guilty of actually planning to storm the Capitol, and the Oath Keepers already charged with seditious conspiracy? Why did they need to be there? Who were they in contact with? Who were they working with? Why were they on Alex Jones? And why were they on Bannon's podcast? The video's gone. We can't watch it. Look how much money they're raising. Look how much of your money. So your vote was stolen, so you gave them money. They activated you. I hope you can learn from this. We're all people. Look at why, if you're trying to identify fraud, is it in a pep rally? Fraud isn't found in pep rallies. It's found with evidence. All they did was go city to city to city like a revival, telling you, your vote was stolen, your vote was stolen, your vote was stolen, your vote was stolen, your vote was stolen. They took your vote, they took your vote. What's up, Talorks? They took your vote. They took your vote. They took your vote. We don't have any evidence and we're losing in court, which means the courts are corrupt. Because your vote was stolen, your vote was stolen, your vote was stolen. How is that part of proving voter fraud? It's part of fascistic propaganda, where they know something for a fact is a lie, and yet they say it often enough for you to believe it. Trump even said, I like saying things often enough people believe me. But this is just evidence. It's up to you to decide what happened. All I can do is show you week by week what happened. If you want to believe the Democrats stole the election somehow, then you find me evidence. And if you won't find me evidence, find yourself some evidence. And if you don't find evidence, then isn't this proof? Okay, I'm not going to waste our time with this. I already told you, like, case after case after case after case was dismissed. I'm not exactly sure where I had it, but the recordings where they said they weren't even claiming voter fraud. This is an article we've been referring to a number of times. Excuse me. And it talks about not only the connection with General Flynn and Phil Waldron, and that Flynn was intelligence and Waldron was psyops. It goes over who they were working with and what they were doing. And we've covered a good majority of this. But you've got Flynn, Waldron, Raiklen, Keschel, we went over this. The Department of Defense did not respond. If you're talking to an audience that cares what General Flynn thinks and you tell the audience, I did this in the military, then they're more likely to be impressed. Waldron disputes such criticism. I took an oath. Bullshit. They were put on a new mission. Waldron went and talked to Gohmert on the 8th. Gohmert called the White House. For decades, Waldron had operated behind the scenes, so he told Reuters in November 2020 he initially resisted going public with his findings. But he said Flynn and Giuliani, what? Flynn and Giuliani were working together? Whoa, weird. So he told Flynn and Giuliani in person at Pennsylvania Senate hearing on November 25th that we showed you earlier, where Trump called in. So Trump called in, Giuliani was there, the Pennsylvania Republicans were there. There was nobody sworn in. Waldron was there. Yeah, I'm sure they're not all connected. He cited his military credentials. I'm a retired Army colonel, 30 years, and he said, then he claimed all the voting machine technology in the United States could be hacked. Even though under oath, Chris Krebs said it wasn't. This guy not under oath said it was. So, words, right? I believe up to 1.2 million Pennsylvania votes could have been altered. A lie. At the end of the hearing, President joined in the speakerphone. I've been watching the hearing on OAN, the one where they were working with the White House and Giuliani. I can't do that. That's not us yet. There was something else on here, I think. Hold on. Arizona audit is later. This November 19th, retired Captain Keschel and current Reserve Lieutenant Colonel Raiklen were featured speakers at an election integrity rally in Manchester, New Hampshire. citing polls saying a growing number of right-wing Americans believe the election was rigged. Raiklin and Keschel told a crowd of about 75 that their movement is succeeding. Noting his legal and military intelligence background, Raiklin laid out what he called a deep state conspiracy theory of a stolen election. I connected these dots. Keschel, now a paid consultant of the America Project, said Trump supporters faced a two-front war, auditing the 2020 election and preparing for 2024. So behind the scenes, you have the military personnel that were working directly with the campaign that were also doing the audits, working with Roger Stone, who started Stop the Steal in 2016, Fox communicating with the president, OAN communicating with the president summoning Michigan officials, the president calling in to Pennsylvania officials. We've already had Graham exposed as calling Georgia to try to get votes thrown out. We've already had Scott Perry, Jim Jordan, MTG, Clarence Thomas's wife, and more all texting the White House and Mark Meadows with plans to overthrow the government. We have Powell admitting it on television. We have the news reporting on it. And we have the judges throwing cases out that aren't even claiming fraud. And this is now just the end of November. We've only reached the end of November. We've had the militia activated. We have them working directly with Stone and Jones. By next week, our list of suspects will be updated to probably close to 80 exposed already. By the end of this, there will be over 300. There will be people in the DOJ, NSA, other national security organizations, retired people in the military, the Attorney General, both Barr and Rosen, Donahue, Rosen's second in command, Chris Miller, the one appointed in Esper's place. All these people are directly connected to each other. And I've already shown you that, I've already shown you that with things in the public sphere. I say again, it's your choice to believe what you want. I have given you evidence showing the progress that was being made from before the election. If you want to choose to believe this election was stolen, that is your right. But face the idea that either you refuse to do any research or you can't find any. And if you choose to believe something under those grounds, the actions you take, you will be accountable for.